Welcome in, folks, to the first ever Homegrown Happy Hour podcast. And I couldn't think of a better person to start off this new style of the show with than the first person who was ever the first guest on the show back when we started it, whenever. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Colby O Bryan.
Man, you really know how to hype somebody up, don't you?
I'm trying.
Bryan.
I'm trying here. I'm trying to be cool for the camera and all that stuff. This is very weird. I'm not going to lie, but hopefully the people out there enjoy it.
Dude, it's a first for you as it is for me. I've never done a podcast kind of thing, but it's cool. Thank you for having me.
Hey, thank you for coming on, dude. So I know you've been in Nashville for quite a while now. How long have you been back around this area for?
Well, I moved to Nashville last August, so 2019. Mm-hmm. And then I came back. Well, we had spring break at Belmont. I think it was sometime in February. And then the COVID-19 thing started like getting worse and worse. And Belmont was like, we're going to extend spring break and then at least 2 weeks of online classes. Mm-hmm. And then they were just like, the rest of the semester is going to be online. And so I came back sometime in March because I had heard a rumor that Nashville was going to be put on like a complete lockdown, nobody in or out. And I was like, I don't want to be in a major city when this whole thing blows up, if it does. Yeah. So I just came home, and I've been home since.
Well, that's good because, I mean, it did kind of blow up down there. You were right about all that.
Well, and you know, it's been nice being home and really having enough time to like visit with my family, because even on like Christmas breaks, I was just here for like a week. Yeah. Or something, because I was trying to, not only did I have to visit my family, but I wanted to visit all my friends and that kind of thing and go to my dad. So I didn't have a lot of time to just stay put. Yeah. But, you know, I've adjusted to life at home. You know, for a while there, my daily routine was, you know, getting up at 6 a.m, drinking my coffee and, you know, watching YouTube and whatever, then doing my online classes. And it took some adjusting, but I've enjoyed it, the time to kind of reset and relax, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm.
So why did you go to Nashville? Was it because Belmont? I know Belmont's an incredible school, but you are more of a rocker type guy. So, I mean, like, why go to the country music capital?
That's the assumption. But, like, from what I can tell since moving down there, country is, like, the dominant. Yeah. But when they say it's Music City, it's not country music city. Like, it truly is Music City.
So there's all types down there.
Yeah, there's a pretty prominent rock scene. More so like pop rock kind of stuff. And like, what I mean by that is there's a lot of like bands specifically on Belmont's campus and around the university circuit, like with Vanderbilt and Belmont and all that. There's bands that are very inspired by, like, I would say the 1975 or Coin or trying to think, Laney, I think, is another band. But man, to me, pop rock is just, it's pop songs, but they're rocked up, and that's what my band that I'm in down there is trying to do. But like, we're really rocking it up, but it's still pop songs.
Yeah, we were talking about your band down there before we hopped on air here, and we shut up because we didn't want to dive too deep into it. But yeah, tell us about what's going on with that.
Well, so at first I wasn't intending on, I guess you would say, joining as a member. Mm-hmm. I was just gonna help them out until they found a bassist or a drummer or whatever. Because for the longest time, I didn't know if I was going to play bass or drums, because they auditioned a bunch of different bassists and drummers. Yeah. And whenever they would audition a bassist, I'd play drums. When they'd audition a drummer, I'd play bass. You see what I'm saying? Yeah, I got you. Because there's already a guitarist, and his name's Jack Devine, and I told you that's his actual last name.
That is such a cool last name.
He, like I was telling you, he is like Eddie Van Halen's clone. And, you know, even though he can sound just like Eddie, he's got his own sound. Yeah. He's very influenced by Eddie, but he's got his own sound, and he's a great songwriter. And the singer, his name's Derek Sibbett. And he's a great lyricist, songwriter. He writes some songs too. Mm-hmm. But they're pop songs. Like, they've got really good hooks and easy to remember. They're catchy, but they're rocked up, and that's what Van Halen did you know, when they hit the scene. Now, I'm not in no means saying we are the next Van Halen, but the idea is the same. What's the word? The motivation behind it is like Van Halen. And it's funny too, because like Michael Anthony, he played bass, and I'm playing bass, and I sing all the high harmonies like Michael Anthony did. And it's just that. I don't know, and we all get to geek out about all that kind of music all the time, because I've never met anybody that really, really is passionate about that genre. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
well, okay, so you're comparing yourself to Van Halen, but which Van Halen? Because for all the Halen fans out there, you got David and you got Sammy.
Well, and don't forget Gary Cherone, but like he was just on one album, but not many people enjoyed him. But no, we all three love both eras. Now we all have our preferences, but we love Roth and Hagar.
Yeah.
And some songs that we write are more Roth era like, and some are more Hagar era. It just depends. Really, Jack, he's probably like the primary songwriter. And he's like me with his writing style, in that whatever he's listening to at the time, that's what he's inspired by to write.
Yeah.
You know? So some days he might be on a big Hagar kick, or Van Hagar kick, and he'll write songs that are like that. And then there's some days he might be really into Boston or Led Zeppelin or something, and he'll write inspired songs by those bands, you know, that don't sound anything like Van Halen. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I got you.
But it's all, he's not so much into the 80s rock like I am, like Rat and Skid Row and Motley Crue, and he loves those bands, but his writing style is more the 70s era, I would say, and Van Halen.
Yeah.
So
what's the name of your band down there?
Well, we don't have any social medias or anything up yet. And we were planning on playing a bunch of shows, but then the COVID-19 thing happened. But every time I tell somebody the name, they're like, what does that even mean? And it's a funny story. But Lily Prex.
Wait, Lily?
Lily, Lily Prex, Prex. 2 words.
Prex.
Lily Prex.
That's a unique name, man. How in the world? What's the story behind that?
So, for, I would say, 2 or 3 months, we all just went back and forth on band names. And none of them, like, really, when we heard it, was like, that's it.
Yeah.
You know? And we wanted something that was unique. And it didn't necessarily have to make sense to everybody. But one day, I was hanging out with Jack in his apartment, and he had a bag of white lily flour, like baking flour or whatever. Yeah. And I was just like, what about white lily? And Jack was like, I kind of like that. So we texted Derek, and Derek was like, I'm not into it. Well, Jack, he is from New Jersey. I think specifically like Princeton area, Princeton, New Jersey. And Prex is Princeton Record Exchange.
Okay.
P for Princeton, R for record, and then EX for exchange. And they call it Prex. And he thought it'd be cool to have some kind of name that involved Prex. And I wasn't really about Prex as like just standalone, just Prex.
Yeah.
And we were in rehearsal one night, and we were all talking about it. And Derek was like, okay, what about, and he was just throwing it out there nonchalantly. He was like, Colby, you like to Lily, and Jack, you like Prex, so why not Lily Prex? And me and Jack looked at each other, and we was like, that's actually really cool. And Derek was like, fine, I'm tired of arguing about a name. Let's go with it. And so, yeah.
It almost sounds kind of Irish, which is ironic how your name is O Bryan. Yeah, do you ever get like anybody thinking that?
I've not heard that yet.
Yeah, it's a little bit Irish.
Everybody's always just like, what? and even when I explain the story to them, I'm like, it doesn't have to have like a specific meaning or anything. It just sounds cool. And they're like, well, it's definitely unique.
Yeah, definitely. So have you like recorded any songs yet or anything?
We've recorded one single, and we were planning on releasing it. But again, everything got put on halt with all this.
Well, now everything's starting to reopen now. Even like around here, I know Nicholas Jamerson played a show in downtown Pikeville last weekend, and they got the Bedford Band playing at the Jenny Wiley Amphitheater. So, I mean, in some areas.
Yeah, it's starting to, I don't feel. I feel like I could go back to Nashville right now, but like, there's school's not going on. Derek is the only, no, I think Dawson and Austin might be, and Andrew Stewart and Max. Anyway, I'm thinking of all my Belmont friends, but it's not really. There's not really a reason for me to go back right now. Especially because, I'd have to spend money to stay down there, you know what I mean? Even though I'm paying rent, but I gotta buy groceries and that kind of thing. And Jack isn't down there, so we couldn't do anything with the band right now anyway, because he's still in New Jersey with all of, because New Jersey and New York, got
they're
hit
pretty
really
bad
hard.
off.
So there's really no reason for me to go back down there right now.
Okay, so what are you doing right now, music-wise? I know
Writing.
We're going to be talking about your new Warrant cover, Uncle Tom's Cabin, and so you're like working on solo stuff right now. Or are you?
Yeah, I seemed like whenever I came in the last time for the first episode of Homegrown Happy Hour, I was telling you about, because Dominique was here.
Yeah.
And she was talking to me about the recording process and so on. I was telling you all about, I was, recording with Mark Stevens, and it was just me and him. I was playing all the instruments on it and that kind of thing. And that's still in the process, but it's kind of transformed into, not only am I going to put out an album, but I plan on putting out like an EP of covers. So 5 covers on one thing, and then like a whole album of original material, like 10 or 11 songs, because I've been writing so much. And then, again, COVID-19, I haven't been able to get into the studio with Mark because, we both have to keep look out for his mother, and I have my grandmother. We're trying to stay away from as much human interaction as possible because his mother, she's a
little bit older and stuff.
Yeah.
And folks like that are a lot more. You just have to be a lot more careful around folks like that, and that's totally understandable. And it's cool how you're thinking about doing a cover EP, because I've always been a big fan of covers, especially when they're paying homage to those artists, kind of like when Metallica done Garage Inc.
Right. Well, and that's just the idea behind it was. It first started out as I just couldn't decide which covers I wanted to do. I just had all these songs I wanted to do, and I couldn't choose just one. And then it turned into I'm just going to do songs by artists that I feel like really have influenced me. Now, I'm not like the world's biggest Warrant fan or anything. I actually listen to them a lot less than what you'd imagine, but I love Uncle Tom's Cabin.
So what made you pick Uncle Tom's Cabin more than songs like Cherry Pie?
Well, Cherry Pie, man, Janie Lane hated that song. He's the the original singer and I think primary songwriter for Warrant, and he hated that song. Man.
It's funny how bands and artists hate their hit singles.
Well, because for Janie, sadly, that's what he became known for.
Yeah.
And it's been talked about in interviews of how originally the Cherry Pie album was going to be called Uncle Tom's Cabin, and the lead single was going to be Uncle Tom's Cabin. And the record label was like, no, that's too heavy. We need something that's kind of like a Pour Some Sugar on Me. And then Cherry Pie was born.
Oh, dude, I didn't know that. Yeah. That's interesting.
Yeah, and that's what he became known as a Cherry Pie guy. And it's sad because he was known for, he deserved so much more songwriting credit than what he got for that. And it made him really depressed. There's some interviews that he truly hated.
Well, I can understand,
song.
especially the story behind it too. And that's another thing, that's why I'm glad that artists are able to be so independent nowadays, because back in the 90s and under, man, there was just so much control from record labels and stuff. And you hear about stories like that. It is depressing because, I mean, who knows how hard they worked to try to get that to be Uncle Tom's Cabin. And shot down from somebody in a suit that don't know anything about music.
Right. And it's still to this day, I feel like it's not so much about the music as it is marketability and the commercial side of things.
Oh, yeah. Big time.
I mean, artists can be independent now, and you don't have to have a record label to put out your own music, but having that record label is good for distribution and marketing. It's you can record music and put it out there, and distribute it yourself. But as far as like getting it out there, it's still really hard without a label.
And a lot of people, will say that you can use social media, but to be honest, I'm not a huge social media guy, and I don't know how to market on that. But there's some people that know how to do it, and they can fully get it out there. But I mean, you're a one-person record label nowadays. You're having to do everything. I mean, you go visit Atlantic Records, and I think they're in Atlanta, and their building is huge. They employ hundreds of people. And you're doing the work of hundreds of people nowadays. It's a good thing, but it can also be very stressful on an artist.
I tell you what, I think that it is breeding now. I mean, this is coming from somebody that just moved to Nashville, and I kind of understand what goes on in the industry, but I mean, I'm not a know-it-all or anything like that. But what I would imagine is artists are not, probably, if I was guessing, not as willing to give up their thing just because some suit tells them, because they've been so used to putting it out on their own and doing their thing. They're comfortable in their own skin. I feel like people are, I guess, less apt to change. I mean, that's the only way I can put it. I'm trying to think of a better way to explain it. I'm doing a terrible job at it.
A lot of people are scared of change, though, man, and that's one of the unfortunate things in today's society, because sometimes the way you look at it, depending on the situation, change can be a good thing. So, but whenever you get back to Nashville and all the recording studios are open to back up and you can do a little bit more on the music side, are you going to focus on the band, or are you going to focus on your solo stuff more?
The band that I'm in, because it's cool. I was talking to somebody about this the other day. I have, in the past number of years, done a lot of self-reflection, and I would say growing up, because I will admit, in high school, when I first started playing guitar, I thought I had arrived. I didn't realize it at the time, but looking back, man, I am not happy of how I represented myself. And I got, everybody has to be knocked down a few notches in their life. And that happened for me when I joined the junior pros at the MAC. I learned how to handle myself in a more professional manner and learned how to take criticism, sometimes very hard to swallow criticism.
Constructive criticism.
Yeah. From there, when I first moved to Nashville, even since I moved to Nashville, I felt like I definitely wasn't near as, I was a lot more humble than I used to be. And, I was happy with how I presented myself before I moved to Nashville. But the thing is, when I moved, the goal was, I'm going to play guitar. I'm going to play guitar no matter what, whether it's with my own thing or playing for somebody else, I'm going to play guitar. Well, then I met Jack and Derek, and I started playing bass, and I got back into drums, and it transformed even in a few months' time of, okay, no, I'm not going to play guitar. I just love playing music in general. No matter what I'm doing, I just enjoy making music and the brotherhood sense of community, within a band. Because we're all best friends now. And I'm not the lead vocalist, and it was really easy for me to I'd never had to do that before, hand it over, but it was really because I recognized how talented Derek was. And two, being in Nashville, like, man, you can like literally spit on any corner and you'll spit on a fantastic musician. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're just part of the herd down there, and you're surrounded by as capable and more capable musicians than you are. And Derek, I was blown away when he's my favorite singer.
So what's your like end goal for all of this?
So,
are you looking for the fame and fortune? Are you looking to just like kind of make a decent living? Everybody has a different goal.
Well, I guess I've got it depends on how specific you want me to be. The goal, I just want to make a comfortable living with a happy family and never have to worry about, my child needing anything and not being able to afford it. Or I just want a happy family and to make my living in some way involved with the music industry.
And I think that's the way to be right there, man, because whenever you're looking at fame and fortune and all that, it would be great, but you don't see all the bad stuff that goes along with that. Like, did you watch the Michael Jordan documentary?
No, not Michael Jordan, but I was going to say I've watched a ton of Michael Jackson documentaries.
Yeah.
And, fame, really, that was the demise of that man.
Well, Jordan, he had to like talk with grocery stores in his area to go shopping after they shut down because he couldn't go during the daytime.
Yep.
And fame and fortune would be cool, man, but you're not looked at as a human being anymore. Yep. You're just another piece of the celebrity pie that people can throw away at any time.
Well, see, so that's where I was going to say, and it depends on how specific you want me to get. I don't know how I would feel about fame and fortune or whatever. I mean, I guess the fortune would be cool, but I know money can't buy you happiness.
Yeah.
You need money to survive in, a capitalist society or whatever the term is.
I get what you're saying.
But I'm not like, I just want to be rich or something. To me, if you're rich in happiness, that's what you need. You know what I mean? That's what's going to fulfill you, make you feel warm and fuzzy inside. But I feel like the fame part of it, I don't believe. Yeah, no, I would never want to become like a superstar. But I like the idea of being able to have a platform to affect people and move people. And that's why I got into music.
Yeah.
Was it made me feel good, and the most rewarding thing for me is whenever somebody tells me that a song means a lot to them and it reminds them of the marriage they had with their now deceased wife or husband or something like that. To me, that's so powerful, and I love it. Yeah, man.
And you can find stuff like that at such kind of a smaller level.
Yeah.
I've DJ'd small clubs where it's a Wednesday night and there's 15 people in there. But at the end of the night, somebody comes up and be like, hey, man, I had one of the best nights I've had in such a long time. And, you probably couldn't even get that if you were playing a show at somewhere like the Appalachia Wireless Arena where you sing and then just get off stage. You don't get to interact with people. But how you were saying, you just want to be comfortable and make a living and doing what you love, I think that's the way to go about it. Because if you're comfortable, you're happy, you're making a decent living, and you're doing everything else that you want to do in life besides what you're doing to make that money, what else could you want? That's perfect.
Well, and I also look at things from a step-by-step process. Right now, the goal, the umbrella over my head is, I want to make the living doing music. But right now, I'm in school.
Yeah.
My goal right now is to meet people in school and make connections, make relationships that will help me when I get out of school. So right now, my focus is being in school and playing music around Nashville and that kind of thing. I'm not running before I can walk.
It's good.
You know?
Yeah. Some people seem to be kind of confused about the process. They think that they can just
move to Nashville.
Yeah, and all of a sudden they're big time. You know, that's perfect. What you're doing, man, is making those relationships. Because going back to record companies, what we were talking about, one thing that makes them so powerful are the connections that they have. And look at any big business or business person. That's what's made them successful, are connections.
And I'll tell you, one of the things I'm so excited about is at Belmont, I have the opportunity to intern at these different record labels or publishing companies and so on. And sure, you know, maybe when I get out of college, I'm not doing exactly what I want to do yet. Mm-hmm. But I believe, from what I can tell, this industry, the music industry, it's all about climbing that ladder. You know, I might start out working at a publishing company or a record label, like doing some sort of like small job, but like that gets your foot in the door, and you're going to meet people no matter what. You're going to just inherently or inevitably meet people, and one person might believe in you, then you move on to the next step, and you know, that kind of thing. And plus with Jack and Derek, you know, their connections, they can help with the band, and I don't know what's going to happen. I don't think too far ahead in the future. I think generally in the future, like I said, I'm confident that I'm going to be able to make a living some way in the industry, but I don't think about exactly how right now. I just have my short-term goals that I want to reach that I believe will lead to the long-term goals. Again, running before walking before running.
But one thing that helps you, man, is how multi-talented you are. Like some of the videos that you've released on social media, you're playing bass, you're playing drums, you're playing guitar, you're singing. I mean, you're a one-man band, and that's one thing that's going to help you a lot in your journey. So, I mean, even if you just ain't playing guitar for a living, you can write a song to make you some money. You can do whatever. But before we get out of here, I got one more question for you.
Okay.
Going back to the Van Halen days, Roth or Hagar?
So my personal preference.
Yes.
Well, I told you I love both eras. But, man.
If you were stuck on an island and you had to choose.
Van Hagar. 100% Sammy.
Really?
Yeah. So, like, the thing about it is, you know, I love Roth's charisma.
He's got a lot of it.
Fantastic frontman. Sammy wasn't no slouch as far as being a frontman either. But I just love Sammy's voice better. He is a better singer than Roth was. And Roth now, he could really sing, especially listening to like isolated tracks from like Van Halen 1 and 2. Like he could sing. But he was, to me, and I might get slaughtered for this, to me was kind of like a one-trick pony.
What do you mean by that?
You know, he did all the screams and that kind of thing, and like a lot of the Van Halen songs from those days sounded very not similar, like they didn't sound the same, but they all were very. I don't think that under Roth they ever put out a ballad, you know, like it was never kind of like toned down.
I get what you're saying.
Like,
yeah, he could only do the stuff.
That was the party Van Halen. And he said that. He is the party of Van Halen, and that's cool. You know, Van Halen was the party metal band, but then when Hagar came in, they kind of, I want to say, like, spread their wings a little bit. You know, they started tinkering around with synthesizers and keyboards more, and the songwriting changed. They had some really rocking songs, and they had some really good ballads, like Love Walks In, for example.
Yeah.
And I just like Hagar's voice better. I just like the tone of it better. It's just it's all.
I gotta respect that.
Is the word objective or subjective? I don't know what it is, but like when you're at that level, like people talk about who's your favorite guitarist. Well, man, when you're comparing all these guys at such a high level, it just comes down to who you prefer.
Exactly.
No one's better than the other.
Yeah, I mean, well, that's the way in everything. There's nobody that's the best at anything, because while they're so-called the best, there's somebody training to come around and be better than them. But yeah, I respect it. I'm more of a Roth fan, to be honest.
Right.
But the way you explained it, that totally makes sense. But do you have a favorite Van Halen song?
Oh man,
Speaking about favorites,
I really
yeah.
like. It's a deep cut from the 5150 album. I really like Good Enough. It's the first track on that album. But I would say if I had to pick a Van Halen song I had to listen to the rest of my life, it would. See, I can't choose just one. It would either
It's so
be
hard.
It would either be Run Around
That's a great one.
or Judgment Day. They're both on the same album, the For Unlawful Carnal Knowledge. Yeah, I love
Around is
Judgment
awesome.
Day though. It's just it drives, man.
I'm telling you, man, Van Halen is just that music to get you pumped up. Like everybody wants some.
Yeah.
That's probably mine, to be honest.
Roth doing the gorilla noises and monkey noises in the beginning, and he's still weird,
Dude,
but he's awesome.
Yeah, I went to go see him at this show. He opened up for Kiss, and I'm telling you, man, that guy is 60 years old, and he can kick higher than I can.
Yeah.
He is one of the, like you said, most flamboyant stage personas that will ever be in rock and roll.
And here's the thing, you have to hand it to that original Van Halen lineup because they paved the way for so many bands. And like Roth became the standard of how to be a frontman. You know what I mean?
I get what you're saying, man. Yeah, that
fashion and everything. Van Halen started a lot of that stuff.
Yeah, he wore like a greenish blue suit whenever I can't even tell you what color
He's
it was.
a rock star.
And it looks like it was made out of alligator skin.
Yep.
He looked like a rock and roll leprechaun,
Now,
but he makes it look cool somehow.
Did you see him at Lexington? Was it at Rupp?
Yeah.
Man, I saw a video. People have shared videos of him from the past number of years, and he hasn't sounded good. But that Lexington show, he sounded killer.
I was worried about that, but I don't know if he got some practice in or what. But yeah, man, he rocked. See, I've always wanted to see Van Halen, and they might do a reunion with Sammy. If they even do a reunion, if all, I doubt it. But if they will, it'll be with Sammy. But I always wanted to see the Roth, so that's the closest I'm ever going to
See, that's
get.
what I would if I had to see a reunion, I would choose Hagar.
Yeah,
But that's just because I like Hagar better.
I wish they would do kind of like half and half. Like
they tried that, not with Van Halen, but they did a Sammy and Dave tour.
Oh, it went terrible, dude.
Have you watched the little documentary on YouTube? They were like at each other's throats. It was awful, apparently. But
I want to know the stories they didn't tell in that documentary.
There's a lot of stories I'm sure that we don't know about. Like I was talking to Reb Beach from Winger and Whitesnake the other day, and he was telling me some stories, and like it's cool to be able to, because none of that stuff's been told in interviews and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So,
It's always cool to get the behind the scenes stuff like that.
yeah.
But man, I just want to thank you for your time today. Thank you for being the first guest on the
Thanks for
Homegrown
having
Happy
me.
Hour podcast. Dude, I wish you nothing but the best. You've always been one of my favorites around here. I've known you for years, and it's just I'm proud to see everything that you're doing, man.
I appreciate it.
Great job, dude. Good luck. And also to all the people out there wanting to check out your stuff, where they can find you, where they can listen to you, all that, where can they do it?
Okay, well, right now it's just YouTube because
Nice.
I took everything
Keeping it
off.
simple.
I took everything off of Spotify and iTunes because I was not happy with that first album. And Uncle Tom's Cabin, whenever it'll get released, I've been having a time out of CD Baby. It's finally in the process. It will be on all the streaming platforms sometime within the next few weeks. But that's like the cleaning the slate, and that's how I'm starting because the old stuff doesn't represent who I am. But there is one or two videos on YouTube. Just type in Colby O Bryan. I think the only single original that I have on there right now is called With You, and you play that on Homegrown sometimes. I like
great
that
song.
But yeah. So other than that, just follow me on Instagram and add me on Facebook. I don't care, but
Hey,
there you go.
There you go, folks. And you don't have to go far to hear that Uncle Tom's Cabin, because here it is right here on the Homegrown Happy Hour. Colby, thanks again, dude.
Thank you.
Boom! That was nerve-wracking.
I enjoyed it. let's get the story straight. Me and Uncle Tom were fishing, it was getting pretty late. Out on a cypress limb above the wishing well, where they say it got no bottom, say it take you down to hell. Over in the bushes and off to the right, two men talking in the pale moonlight. Sheriff John Brady and Deputy Hedge hauling two limp bodies down to the water's edge. I know a secret down in Uncle Tom's cabin, oh yeah. I know a secret that I just can't tell. They didn't see me and Tom in the tree, neither one believing what the other could see. Tossed in the bodies, let them sink on down to the bottom of the world where they'll never be found. I know a secret down in Uncle Tom's cabin, oh yeah. I know a secret that I just can't tell. I know a secret down in Uncle Tom's cabin. I know a secret that I just can't tell. I know a secret down in Uncle Tom's cabin. I know who put the bodies in the wishing well. Soon as they were gone, me and Tom got down, praying real hard that we wouldn't make a sound. Running through the woods back to Uncle Tom's shack, where the full moon shines through the rooftop cracks. Oh my God, Tom, who are we gonna tell? The sheriff, he belongs in a prison cell. Keep your mouth shut, and that's what we're gonna do, unless you wanna wind up in a wishing well tub. I know a secret down in Uncle Tom's cabin. I know a secret that I just can't tell. I know a secret down in Uncle Tom's cabin, oh yeah. I know a secret that I just can't tell. Oh, I know a secret down in Uncle Tom's cabin. I know, put the bodies, no, put the bodies in the wishing well.